Hey everyone, it's Duncan from overlandjournals.com, and today we're in Cuba PD. Nah, I'm just kidding, just in Adelaide, back home. But I thought I'll start off my commentary from here in Adelaide, and it gives you a sense of contrast. Look around you, that's all green, and when you see Cuba PD, where we're going to in a moment, it'll give you a sense of contrast. You know how the landscape here in the city is and how it is out there. A lot of people had told us before we went, why do you want to go to Cuba PD? It's just a dusty town, there's nothing else there. And we said, well, that's a place we want to go to. And we did, and we loved it. It was a beautiful place. And I'd like you to come with me on the second part of our Outback series to see what Cuba PD is all about.
Destination is on the right.
Cuba PD can get really hot during summer. I mean, you're talking temperatures of 50 degrees centigrade upwards. We went in winter, it was brilliant, 20 degrees, 22 degrees during the day, bright blue skies, it was brilliant, but summer is something else. So because of that, and because of its harshness and how hot it gets, people over the years and even today live underground in what I call dugouts. Beauty is, no matter how hot or cold it may be outside, inside these dugouts it's a constant 24 to 25 degrees throughout the year, whatever the season may be, and there's absolutely no humidity, so it's a perfect place. Now, to get the experience, we didn't camp when we got to Cuba PD. We stayed in one of these dugouts. There's a number of places to stay, hotels, motels, which are all dugouts underground, and we stayed in one of these places, and it was brilliant. We loved it, and you don't need climate control, you don't need air conditioning, you don't need heating, because it's a constant 24 degrees throughout the year. I thought I'll talk about something interesting that happened. When we drove in yesterday, as we pulled in, there was this screeching sound coming from the 4x4's front driver's side hub. Now, I had a feeling it was most likely this happens when a stone chip gets stuck between the brake disc and the plate that's behind it. And it disappeared after a while, so it was most likely that's what the problem was. I wanted to get a second assurance, so I drove into a local workshop. Drove in and they had just opened the workshop, and they were very busy. There was already customers in there, and they flat out said to me they cannot help. They were very polite about it, but the gentleman, who was pretty much a one-man show, said he couldn't help me because he was just completely booked out for the day. Anyway, so I said, okay, that's fine, no worries. So I stepped out. He comes up to me and he says, oh, that's an interesting number plate you've got. What does that mean? I'll give you a background of how that number plate came about. My wife and I always like to name our cars, and the 80 series is called Souris, and you might have noticed that in the number plate. It's called Souris. And Souris, how it came about was we have a love for rhinos, and we are involved in rhino conservation work as well. So fittingly, you know, we call it Souris, and the word Souris is the scientific name for a rhino. And then we got a rhino on our bonnet here as well, right there. And then all of a sudden he says, I'm happy to help a guy who loves animals, so pull the car in, I'll take a quick look. And I was quite surprised. So pulled the car in, and 10 minutes later he confirmed that it was pretty much what he suspected, and all good to go, and didn't even charge me anything for it. I did give him something as a token of appreciation. And this is the beauties of traveling and talking to the locals, and even travelers for that matter. But you know, I always believe that the right attitude gets you far. When you travel, don't be a tourist, try and become a local, speak to the locals, get to know them a bit better, and have the right attitude. I was doing the research for Cuba PD. There was a couple of interesting things I came across about Cuba PD. It's really cool. And a couple of things is, up until the 1980s, you could actually walk into your local supermarket in Cuba PD and buy dynamite. You could buy everything else. You can buy your Vegemite, you can buy your groceries, and you could buy dynamite. And that's true, because that's what they used up until around about that time, and before it was regulated. You buy dynamite and blow it up, and then blow up, and then that's how your mining started. So you could actually walk into a supermarket or grocery store and you could buy dynamite. Now here's another interesting fact, right? When people had disputes, they practically resolve the disputes by blowing things up. I don't know if this is a legend or if it is really true, but I read and I heard that once upon a time these two guys were trying to solve whatever dispute they had, and they went around blowing things up in the town, and what they did was they blew up the only police car the whole town had. And one of the things you got to do when you get to Cuba PD is you got to do a mine tour. There's a number of them. What I would recommend is there's two types of mine tours you can do. There's couple of mine tours where the mines are no longer in operation. It's already happened. Used to be working mines once upon a time, not anymore, and they take you on a tour. That's fantastic. You got to do that. And they'll talk you through how it was back in the day, and you get a sense of how it was under there. At the same time, go and do a mine tour where there's a working mine. There's a couple of them out there. I'm not going to mention names because then it look as if I'm promoting a particular tour company or tour group. So I'm not going to do that, but there are a number of working mines. Now, what I would recommend is do a working mine and then go and do one of the other mines where mining doesn't happen anymore, and it'll give you a sense of understanding of how the opal mining happens now and how the opal mining used to happen.
underground homes in Cuba PD, a dugout. But what happened here? First, they were looking for opal. And then, when they couldn't get any more opal or the sort had run out, and they made a home out of their mine, a dugout. But in them days, there was no electricity, no water, nothing like that. We got opal in the wall. There you are. That's opal.
Now, because of the interesting landscape Cuba PD has, a number of sci-fi movies has been shot over the years. I don't think there was any movies shot recently, but up until the 80s and maybe the early 90s, a number of sci-fi movies has been shot in Cuba PD. Again, the interesting part is some of the props that were used to shoot these movies are left behind. So you drive through the town of Cuba PD and you will see, you know, some of these props scattered, you know, all over the place. So that's another thing. So go and look for these. You know, some of them are very obvious as you drive through the town. Some of them not. You got to go and look for them. So, you know, again, that's part of what, you know, characterizes this little town, and it's always nice to sort of try and watch the movie beforehand. So do some research before you go next, figure out what movies were shot there, and then go and take a look. It works better. That's what I did. When I did the research and I found out there was, you know, movies that's been shot here, I kind of went back and watched them, because some of them I had not watched and some of them I might have watched, but, you know, many years ago. So I watched them, and so when I went into Cuba PD and I saw some of these props, and it all came back in, and that made it a lot more interesting. Other interesting places in Cuba PD you must go and see is Crocodile Harry's nest. Harry, he was a true life Dundee. He lived in Queensland for a while. He tried his hand at mining for uranium, never worked out. He went bankrupt. Then he got into hunting for crocodiles. That's where his name practically came from. And then when government brought in regulations and you know, he couldn't make a decent living out of it, he decided to move to Cuba PD and try his hand at opal mining. Whether he made it rich or not, no idea. I have no idea, but it is a place worthwhile going to see. He's no longer around. He had passed away about 15 years ago, but his home where he lives, practically a dugout, was used in the Mad Max Thunderdome movie, and that's, you know, you can understand when you drive in why they chose that location, because when you drive in, it's quite a strange place, let alone the landscape that, you know, Cuba PD has. But at the same time, he's used all sorts of discarded machinery and other metal remains, and he's arranged it in, you know, sort of artistic way, in a strange artistic way, and this is how it became the set. Now, one of the other cool places you can go to when you're in Cuba PD is a place called Breakaways. Now, Breakaways has breathtaking landscape scenery. It's one of those serene places. It's 30 kilometers out of Cuba PD. You need to get a permit. So you go into the information center in Cuba PD, get yourself a permit, and then drive up to the Breakaways. Now, the best time of day to go and see the Breakaways is either early morning at sunrise or late afternoon sunset. Now, we did both and we loved it. And you get two completely different experiences. You go early in the morning, have a bit of breakfast as the sun comes up, or go in the afternoon, have a bit of wine, get a beer out or whatever you fancy, put your feet up and watch the sun go down. And as the sun comes up or as the sun goes down, the different layers of soil and material that makes up these rock formations comes out, and it's just amazing. It's a kaleidoscope of colors if you sit and have the patience to watch. Now, you can also go down and drive through these rock formations on either side, again, which we did that, and it's a must if you ask me, and it's fantastic. Then you come back up and you can park on the edge of this cliff edge and you sit out and you watch.